Have you ever noticed that the loudest lessons in life are often taught in silence? We live in a world where noise has become our companion. Noise of opinions, noise of expectations, and noise of endless distractions. But what if I told you that silence is not emptiness, but power? Silence has the ability to heal, to transform, and to guide us toward clarity. Silence is not about the absence of sound, it is about the presence of self. When you embrace silence, you begin to listen to the most important voice, the one within you. That's where real growth begins. Silence is often misunderstood as emptiness, as if nothing significant can come from it. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful forces we can embrace. When the noise of the world surrounds us, opinions, judgments, constant chatter, and distractions, it is easy to feel overwhelmed, lost, and uncertain. In those moments, silence becomes a refuge, not because it is empty, but because it is full of potential. It is in silence that clarity begins to emerge. It is in silence that our inner voice becomes louder than the chaos outside. The reason silence holds so much power is that it allows us to shift focus from the external to the internal. It gives us the chance to pause, breathe, and listen to what our heart and mind are truly trying to tell us. When you quiet the noise around you, you suddenly realize that silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of awareness. Throughout history, some of the most impactful decisions, discoveries, and moments of transformation were born out of silence. Great thinkers, leaders, and dreamers have often retreated into silence to find answers and direction. Why? Because silence sharpens perception. When you allow yourself to embrace silence, you begin to see things more clearly. You notice details that you might otherwise overlook. You understand emotions, both your own and others, in a deeper way. The power of silence lies in its ability to cut through confusion and reveal truth. In a world where everyone is rushing to speak, silence makes your presence stronger, your words more meaningful, and your actions more intentional. Moreover, silence holds an invisible strength that people can feel. In conversations, when everyone else is quick to argue or defend themselves, the one who remains silent radiates confidence and control. That silence is not weakness, it is discipline. It is the courage to not let anger or ego dictate your response. By choosing silence, you preserve your energy and maintain your dignity. Instead of reacting impulsively, you gather strength, and that strength becomes a shield against negativity. In this way, silence becomes a form of power greater than any words could express. Even in nature, silence demonstrates its influence. The ocean doesn't roar all the time, yet its calm presence holds unimaginable depth and force. The mountains stand in majestic silence, yet they command respect and awe. A seed breaks open in the quiet darkness of the soil to grow into a mighty tree. Silence nurtures growth, strength, and transformation in ways that noise never can. Just like these natural forces, when you allow silence into your life, you give yourself room to grow without interruption. You create a space where possibilities expand and where your mind can align with your goals. The truth is, silence is far from empty. It is overflowing with strength, wisdom, and clarity. It is in silence that we connect with ourselves on the deepest level and draw out the courage to move forward with purpose and confidence. Silence helps you listen to your inner voice, and that is one of the most powerful gifts you can ever receive in life. In a world where people are constantly telling you what you should do, how you should live, and who you should be, it is easy to get lost in the noise. Opinions, judgments, and expectations surround you from every corner. Friends, family, society, and even social media all try to shape the way you think. With so many voices competing for your attention, your own voice often becomes the faintest, drowned out by the demands of others. Yet, the truth is that your inner voice is the compass that can guide you to the life you truly desire. The only way to hear it clearly is through silence. When you allow yourself to be silent, even for a few moments, you create space for self-reflection. You stop absorbing everything from the outside world and turn inward. That inner voice begins to whisper truths about who you are and what you want. It may tell you to take risks, to follow a passion, or to walk away from things that are no longer serving you. It may remind you of your worth when you doubt yourself or encourage you to keep going when the world tells you to quit. But to hear these whispers, you must quiet the external noise. Silence becomes the bridge that connects you with your deepest wisdom. Often, people fear silence because it feels uncomfortable. They believe it represents loneliness or emptiness, but that discomfort only arises because they are not used to listening to themselves. When you start embracing silence, you realize it is not lonely at all. It is liberating. It frees you from the constant pressure of pleasing others and gives you permission to be honest with yourself. You begin to recognize your values, your dreams, and your boundaries. You no longer simply follow the crowd. You follow your truth. This is the power of listening to your inner voice through silence. That inner voice is not just a feeling. It is your intuition, your instinct, and your wisdom combined. It has the answers to questions you often seek outside of yourself. While advice from others can be valuable, no one understands your journey as deeply as you do. Silence helps you tune into that personal understanding. It clears away the confusion and strengthens your decision-making. The more you practice listening to your inner voice, the more confident and self-assured you become, because you are no longer relying on external approval to validate your choices. Silence does not just make you hear your inner voice, it also makes you trust it. Trusting yourself is the foundation of growth and success. Without silence, the noise of the world will continue to drown out your truth, leaving you disconnected from who you really are. With silence, you reclaim your voice, and with your voice, you reclaim your life. Silence is often mistaken for weakness, but in reality, it is one of the strongest forms of wisdom a person can possess. In moments of conflict or criticism, our first instinct is usually to react, to defend ourselves, or to prove a point. We believe that raising our voice, arguing back, or responding instantly shows strength. But in truth, it is silence that demonstrates true control. Choosing not to engage in unnecessary battles is not a sign that you are powerless. It is a sign that you understand the value of your energy and your peace of mind. When you stay silent in the face of negativity, you are showing that you are not easily shaken by the noise around you. You rise above it with dignity, and that is the essence of wisdom. Silence teaches patience, and patience is a rare form of intelligence. Anyone can react impulsively, but it takes courage and discipline to pause, remain still, and think before acting. When you are silent, you create a gap between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. In that gap lies wisdom. You are able to analyze the situation, see it from different angles, and make a decision that reflects maturity rather than impulse. This ability to pause is what separates those who are constantly at war with the world from those who move forward with calmness and confidence. Moreover, silence protects you from wasting your words on those who do not value them. Not everyone deserves an explanation. Not everyone is ready to understand your perspective. Sometimes silence is the strongest statement you can make. When you stop trying to convince others and simply remain silent, you communicate a level of self-assurance that words could never achieve. People begin to realize that your silence is not defeat. It is strength. It is the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth and does not feel the need to prove it constantly. Silence also allows you to guard your inner peace. Words, once spoken in anger or frustration, cannot be taken back. They may damage relationships, reputations, and even your own sense of self-respect. By choosing silence, you avoid unnecessary regrets. You shield yourself from the consequences of hasty reactions. Instead, you allow time and space to soften the situation, to bring perspective, and to reveal solutions that shouting or arguing could never create. Silence becomes a shield that keeps negativity from entering too deeply into your life. Even in leadership and influence, silence holds power. A leader who speaks only when necessary is often respected more than one who speaks all the time. Their words carry weight because they are not lost in endless noise. The same applies to life. When you choose silence wisely, the moments when you do speak become impactful. People listen more carefully because your silence has taught them that your voice is worth waiting for. This is why silence is not weakness but wisdom, and mastering it is one of the greatest strengths a person can ever achieve. Nature has always been the greatest teacher, and one of its most profound lessons is the power of silence. If we look closely, we realize that some of the most powerful forces in the natural world exist and function without making a sound. A seed, for instance, grows in complete silence. Hidden beneath the soil, it breaks open, develops roots, and slowly rises toward the light without anyone noticing or hearing. Yet, that silent transformation leads to the creation of a tree that provides shade, fruit, and life to countless beings. This quiet process reminds us that growth does not always require noise or recognition. It requires patience, persistence, and the silent strength to keep moving forward. In the same way, stars shine brightly in the night sky without making a single sound. They guide travelers, inspire dreamers, and light up the universe silently. Their brilliance does not need an announcement because their presence alone is enough to inspire wonder and awe. This teaches us that silence can be more powerful than noise. True greatness often speaks for itself. Just like the stars, when we shine through our actions and our character rather than our words, people notice. Silence allows our work, our values, and our integrity to speak louder than any noise we could create. The sunrise is another perfect example of the power of silence. Every morning, the sun rises, painting the sky with colors of hope and new beginnings. It does so without a sound, yet it changes everything. Darkness disappears, life awakens, and a new day begins. The sunrise reminds us that transformation does not always need noise or chaos. Sometimes the most impactful changes happen quietly, steadily, and consistently. In the same way, when we embrace silence in our lives, we can bring light and positivity into the world without needing to announce our every step. Mountains, too, stand tall in silence. They do not speak, yet they command respect and admiration. Their strength and stability are felt simply through their presence. Similarly, silence gives us a commanding strength. When we learn to be silent, we no longer feel the need to prove ourselves to others constantly. Our calmness, resilience, and stability begin to speak louder than words. Just like mountains, silence helps us become unshakable, grounded, and strong in the face of life's challenges. Nature proves over and over again that silence is not weakness or emptiness, but an extraordinary force. Seeds, stars, sunrises, and mountains all show us that silence carries within it the power to inspire, to guide, and to transform. If the most powerful forces of nature can create such impact without noise, then so can we. By choosing silence, we align ourselves with the quiet power of nature and allow our presence, actions, and growth to speak for us in ways words never could. Silence allows reflection and healing, and in today's fast-paced world, that is something most people overlook. We are constantly surrounded by noise, whether it's the sound of traffic, the endless notifications on our phones, or the voices of people giving their opinions about our lives. In this constant chaos, the mind rarely gets a chance to rest. Silence becomes essential because it gives us the pause we desperately need to reconnect with ourselves. When we embrace silence, even for a short while, we give our minds the opportunity to process emotions, to think clearly, and to make sense of experiences that may have left us feeling confused or overwhelmed. Reflection becomes possible only when the noise fades, and in reflection lies the first step to healing. When you allow yourself moments of silence, you start to see situations differently. Silence creates the space to step back and view problems from a new perspective. Instead of reacting in frustration or stress, you begin to analyze calmly and find better solutions. This is because silence clears mental clutter. In silence, the mind organizes itself, separating what truly matters from what does not. It is like cleaning a crowded room where everything is scattered and messy. Only in quietness can order return. Reflection in silence gives you clarity, and with clarity comes the power to make stronger, wiser choices. Silence is also deeply connected to emotional healing. Pain, disappointment, and loss often leave us searching for distractions. But healing doesn't come from running away. Healing begins when we sit with ourselves in silence, allowing those emotions to surface and teaching ourselves how to process them. Silence provides the courage to feel what we have been avoiding. In those quiet moments, the heart slowly begins to mend and the weight we have been carrying starts to lighten. This is why many people find peace in meditation, prayer, or simply sitting quietly in nature, because silence has a unique way of soothing the mind and comforting the soul. Moreover, silence makes us better at responding rather than reacting. When we are constantly surrounded by noise, we tend to react impulsively, often saying or doing things we regret later. Silence, however, teaches patience. It gives us the power to pause, to breathe, and to respond thoughtfully. This pause not only helps us make wiser decisions, but also strengthens relationships, because silence prevents unnecessary conflicts and allows understanding to grow. It helps us control emotions rather than letting emotions control us. In addition, silence builds resilience. By giving yourself time to reflect and heal in quiet moments, you gradually grow stronger. You begin to trust yourself more because you see that silence is where you regain energy, strength, and direction. Every challenge you face feels lighter when you spend time in silence, because you are no longer reacting blindly. You are responding with clarity and purpose. Silence, therefore, becomes the tool that transforms pain into strength, confusion into clarity, and wounds into wisdom. Silence has the ability to transform your entire life because it is not just a pause from the outside world. It is a space where growth, patience, and purpose are born. In silence, you learn to detach from distractions and truly focus on yourself. The world constantly pushes you to keep moving, keep speaking, and keep proving, but silence teaches you the opposite lesson, that sometimes the most powerful progress happens when you slow down, when you listen instead of speak, and when you reflect instead of react. This transformation does not come overnight, but with consistent practice of embracing silence daily, you begin to notice changes in the way you think, feel, and live. When you bring silence into your everyday routine, it becomes a mirror that reflects your true self. You start to notice your thoughts more clearly, uncovering patterns that either hold you back or move you forward. This awareness is the foundation of change. Without silence, life becomes a cycle of noise, where you are constantly influenced by others. But with silence, you begin to separate your own truth from the voices around you. That self-awareness is transformative because it helps you live more authentically and make choices aligned with your deepest values. Silence also cultivates patience, which is an essential part of growth. In silence, you learn to wait without frustration, to trust the process instead of rushing for immediate results. This patience becomes a source of strength in difficult times. Instead of giving up when life gets hard, silence gives you the resilience to endure. It reminds you that growth, just like nature, happens gradually. A seed does not turn into a tree in a day, and in the same way, transformation in life requires time. Silence helps you embrace that journey with calmness rather than restlessness. Another powerful transformation that silence brings is clarity of purpose. In the constant noise of life, it is easy to feel lost or disconnected from what you truly want. Silence clears the confusion and allows your inner voice to guide you toward your purpose. When you regularly spend time in silence, you begin to notice what truly fulfills you, what drains you, and what direction feels right for your soul. With this clarity, your actions become more intentional and your life becomes more meaningful. Instead of moving aimlessly, you move with purpose and confidence. Silence also improves the quality of your relationships. When you learn to listen deeply, which is only possible in silence, you connect with people on a more genuine level. You begin to understand more, judge less, and value presence over unnecessary words. This quiet strength fosters trust, respect, and harmony in your interactions with others. The transformation that silence brings is not dramatic or noisy. It is subtle yet powerful. Day by day, it reshapes your mindset, strengthens your character, and deepens your connection with yourself and the world around you. Silence does not just change a moment, it changes the way you experience life itself. Silence helps you respond instead of react. It gives you space to think, to heal, and to rise stronger. In moments of silence, you discover patience. In patience, you discover strength. And in strength, you discover purpose. So today, I challenge you. Embrace silence, not as an escape, but as a tool. Use it to reflect, to build resilience, and to move forward with confidence. Because when you learn the art of silence, you won't just change your day, you'll change your life. Remember, silence does not mean nothing is happening. Silence means everything is happening within you.